What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Today, while I'm here, Bruno's done. You can't see him. He's sitting right here, of course. He's got to be around me when I'm making my videos. We're going to talk a little bit about calorie zigzagging. As I see this a lot, and it comes up, and I think it's maybe an old school. I'm not even sure where it came from. I know it's a very logical way of doing things, where days that you have like a heavy leg day, you'd have more carbs or more calories. Days that you had an arm day, you would have, let's say, less calories or less carbs or whatever it is. However you cut your macros or your calories or whatever. And I get these programs people send to me when I'm going to start working with them, and they're like, send me two different things. It's like 1,600 calories and like 2,500 calories. So the days that they train 25, the days that don't, it's like 1,600. I look at it and I said, why? What is the reason for the reduction of the calories? I mean, I already know the answer, but I want to hear what they think the reason is. And what they usually think is, well, I'm not training that day, so my calorie expenditure is going to be a lot less than it was if I had been training. Now, technically, movement-wise, I guess that would be true. But what you didn't know is, as the body needs to recover, it needs micro, macro nutrients in calories to recover. So by cutting back on those days that you're not training, you could very well be robbing yourself of some growth. And at the same time, your body, I don't care who you are, you're not carb loading and carb depleting within a day or 2 days. Okay, so what's happening is your body's not adapted to this diet. And I see this over and over again where people send me their stuff and they hire me because they feel like they're stuck. They're spinning their wheels. Stuff is not working. And part of the reason why things don't work is you have not adapted. I've said this before in other videos. Your body is not adapted to what you're doing. The first thing I do is get my clients adapted, which means that their training, their diet, their cardio, their supplement program is consistent all the time, day in, day out. It's the same thing, day in, day out. The body adapts. Now that I know if you're maintaining your body fat and your muscle mass, I know now that if we increase the protein a little bit, you're going to gain muscle. I also know if we decrease the carbohydrates a little bit, you're going to lose fat. If we add 5 minutes of cardio, you're going to lose fat. These are things that you can't do unless you're adapted. Now, I'm not really sure where it came from. I actually think that it may be just something that some trainer pulled out of their ass. I don't think there's any scientific explanation for why people zigzag their calories. But I also think that it's based on carb cycling. They get carb cycling and calorie cycling confused. Okay, now, calorie cycling could work if, let's say this is really not going to be good for muscle mass. You're going to lose muscle mass. You may lose fat, but you're going to lose muscle mass. So let's say you decrease your calories by 1,000 calories for a week. And then you jack them back up for a week and reduce them for a week and brought them back up for a week. Now, even within that week's time, the body may get adapted to where it levels off and doesn't respond anymore. Carb cycling is a little different. Carb cycling, you drastically reduce your carbohydrates for a number of days. And that's anywhere from 3 to 7 days with no carbohydrates. Okay? And that's just that one macronutrient. Okay? So it's not an overall calorie reduction where your body will burn muscle and burn fat together. It's wanting to maintain its muscle mass, and it's trying to figure out how to get energy from carb cycling. Then when you jack the carbs back in there again, you fill up the glycogen reserves, and essentially you get an insulin push, so you're harnessing insulin, and that's the way the carb cycling is supposed to work. Now, there's also the way you can do it with keto. Okay, keto, you do a 14-day introduction period in the beginning of your diet. Zero carbohydrates, as close to zero as you can get. Here come the people, you can't do zero carbs. Shut the fuck up. If I do a scoop of protein, okay, and there's 1 fucking gram of carbs as a byproduct, big fucking deal, okay? 1 gram of carb is not going to affect your outcome. You're still on a basically zero fucking carb diet. Let's face facts, okay? You know what I mean. Stop poking the lion in the cage and getting him pissed off, okay? So, after that 14 days, now you can have a kind of a refeed, okay? It doesn't have to be just carbohydrates. It could be cheeseburgers, pasta, could be grape juice, could be, combinations of pizza, which has fats, proteins, carbs, could be whatever, to increase the metabolism again and make sure that it doesn't stick, which does happen, okay? Now, those are all different ways to control your diet and control how you lose fat. But the bottom line is, even if you're on a carb cycling, if you're on keto, if you're on anything, your body needs to adapt. That's the whole way that the body works. It adapts consistently over and over again. And if you can get it to adapt, you now make your body predictable. And what that means is I can make my body do anything I want at any point in time, just like that. Pull 10 grams of carbs out for a meal for a couple days. Huge change. Where the average person who isn't adapted to their program pulls it out and they don't see any changes. Like, this fucking thing sucks, it doesn't work. Well, that's because one day you had 1,500 calories, one day you had 2,500 calories, one day you had 9,000 calories. It has to be adapted. That's the way you get the best results, and that's the way it works. And that's also the way the reverse dieting works. You're adapting your body the opposite direction of what you're trying to do to get down when you were lean. You're trying to get your body to adapt to the fact that it has more calories now, and it can not gain body fat while you're feeding it these calories slower. It goes, oh, okay, you have more calories coming in. This is your brain talking to your body. We got more calories coming in, okay, and we're training really hard. There's no starvation coming up. Let's use them. Okay, let's speed up a little. Let's use them. Okay, cool. All right, hey, new calories, what's happening? You want to hang with us? That's how it kind of works in a nutshell. Okay, now I do remember in 2007, I did a carb cycling, which was a high, low, and medium. Okay, so a high carb day was like 200 grams, medium was maybe 100 grams, low was like 50 grams of carbs per day. And it went low, medium, high. Well, no, high, medium, low, high, medium, low. It went something like that, to that effect. And what was happening is I was adapting to it, but not as good as when I was doing the 3 low, 1 high. Okay, my body would adapt to it, and as I would put the carbs back in, it would bump back up. So there's definitely different ways that you can approach this. It just depends on what works best for your body, and the only way to find that is through experimentation. So my advice is, if you know regularly, well, if I don't eat enough for a couple of days, I seem to flatten out a lot, and then I eat a little bit, and I fill right back up from one day, well then hey, you could do a 2-day low carb, 1 day high carb. If you're like, hey man, I can go all week and I feel fine, well you could probably go for the 14-day little to no carbs and then 1 carb up. It just depends on the individual and how their body reacts. Also, how intense you're training. If you're training very intense, like I mentioned, that high, medium, and low, it wasn't arranged on days that I had leg day. It wasn't a high day. So there were days where I was like 50 grams of carbs, and I had a 15 to 18 set leg workout to get through, and 2 hours of cardio a day to get through to the show. And if it fell on your leg day, so be it. It fell on your leg day. You got to dig down deep and take your balls out of your pocket and get your workout done. So there's so many different ways to do it. Just go out there and do the research yourself. Don't buy into any one single way to do it. And above all, concentrate on your own body, what it tells you, the signals it's telling you, how you feel, the way you look. Use the mirror and how you feel and how your clothes fit. And forget about all this body fat percent and all this bullshit. Let those be your guide, and I guarantee you that you'll get your goals better and faster. And at the same time, you'll be happier because the little caliper won't be telling you that you suck because you didn't lose a fucking 1/10% or whatever it is. BioStreetTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below. www.biostreettraining.com is the blog. And we're Carb Cycle Bicep out.